regular Board of Directors meeting of Umpqua Public Transportation District to order at 5:30 p.m. Monday, March 16th, 2026. Roll call.
Janet Beam,
Here.
Michaela Hammerson,
Here.
Bill Morton,
Here.
Bill Hagedorn,
Here.
Natasha Atkinson,
Here.
Greg Kennerly,
Here.
and no Doug Mendenhall. Thank you.
Does somebody that's there in person want to lead the pledge?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So first on the agenda was the board roles, authority, and responsibilities. And it was more just to do a quick review. Do you want to pull it up, Amir, or do you want me to?
I can pull it up.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so the Board of Directors operates as a collective governing body, and its authority is exercised through actions taken by the board as a whole during duly noticed public meetings. Individual board members do not possess independent authority to act on behalf of the district unless such authority has been expressly delegated by the board through formal action. Recently, correspondence was submitted to federal officials by an individual board member identifying themselves in their capacity as a member of the Umpqua Public Transportation District Board of Directors and requesting a federal investigation involving the district. This action was undertaken without prior discussion, authorization, or direction from the full board. While individual board members retain the right to express personal opinions and communicate with outside agencies in their individual capacity, it is important to distinguish between personal actions and actions taken on behalf of the board of the district. For governance clarity, the following principles apply. Board authority is exercised collectively. The Board of Directors may only take official positions or actions through a majority vote at a properly noticed meeting. Individual board members may not represent the board or district position unless authorized by the board. Communications with external agencies or organizations that imply representation of the district should be authorized by the board or directed through designated leadership, such as the board chair or general manager. Acting independently while identifying oneself as representing the board or district may create confusion regarding official positions, governance authority, and legal accountability. Maintaining clear governance practices ensures transparency, protects the district from unintended liability, and preserves the integrity of the board's decision-making process. The purpose of this agenda item is to reaffirm the board's governance standards and clarify the respective rights and responsibilities of individual board members versus the board acting as a governing body. No formal action is required unless the board wishes to provide further direction or adopt additional governance guidance.
I'd like to speak to that.
Is it on this directly or something?
Yeah, it's on this directly.
Board recognizes Michaela.
Thank you. So I believe this is directed towards me. I did submit as myself as a board director, not as the board itself, but as a director. I did submit what was that?
Representing your position as a board member.
Sure, me as an individual, yes.
Not Michaela.
Not on behalf of the
board member.
But am I recognized?
Go ahead.
Okay. So as a board member, I have requested an investigation into ODOT and to RLS. Regarding the RLS report, I have expressed several concerns to ODOT and to this board formally via email on multiple occasions that I believed that the RLS report was inaccurate and that it produced results, unfortunately, that were therefore inaccurate because it didn't possess all of the it didn't seek to interview every single board member. It
Michaela,
didn't
I am
seek
going to
to-
stop you. I do not want to directly engage in a conversation about the document as that has not been admitted or shown. So this is
The
simply
document is
board
part
rules
of
and
public record.
responsibilities.
I've sent it out to every single board member.
Not everyone has
be-
received it,
I asked for it to be an agenda item. You
and
can't.
that was not
I get it.
appropriate for it to be an
Chair
agenda
Beam,
item.
I understand that it's
We're not going to talk
inconvenient.
about it, Michaela.
It's inconvenient, but it is
Michaela,
part of the public
we are
record.
not going to talk about this because it is not a part of the
I
agenda.
have equal right to talk in this board. You can't suppress me and my opinion from being
I'm not
shared.
suppressing you or your
publicly.
opinion. I'm asking you to stay only on the topic of what is and isn't
This
allowed.
is the topic. The topic is my letter. You have added it here and you've talked
No,
about
I
it.
did not
And I
add
have
the
the right
letter.
to defend myself and
Okay.
explain the reason why I submitted
Michaela,
a request for investigation to the U.S. Department of Transportation,
Michaela, I'm asking you to stop. You're
the
out of
Federal
order.
Transit Administration.
Michaela, I'm asking you to stop.
I was
We are
recognized.
only talking about the roles and responsibilities as a board member, and an individual of the board does not have,
How did you
not
preface
supposed
this?
to reach out on their own without a
How
vote
did you
or the
preface
board
this?
as a whole.
You
communicating.
prefaced it with somebody submitted correspondence to federal
Michaela,
officials.
stop.
That
That's
was
enough.
me. I submitted
You're going to continue to be
correspondence
disruptive. We're not going to allow you to
to
speak.
federal officials. I submitted that.
Michaela,
That's the topic.
again,
Okay,
as
then
a
let the
board
record
member,
show. Then let the record show. Chair Beam, you are not allowing me to speak. You are
No.
not allowing this to be on public record. But I have
I'm
submitted
not allowing
a
speaking
request for
on what was
investigation to
submitted
federal
at the
authorities.
meeting. No, we can talk about whether or not an individual board member should or has the right to act on their own
To be a
without
whistleblower,
including the
I have the
entire
right.
board, but we are not
I have
going to
the
talk
right to
about
be
the
a
item in
whistleblower.
question.
Okay, I have the right to be a whistleblower, and I've done that.
You have a right
And it's
as
public
an
record,
individual.
and anyone can
However,
request
okay,
it.
Michaela,
That's fine. The public can request it. If they want to see what I said, they can request it. It was sent to all the board members.
I'm going to ask you to stop, and I've checked with the board members, and not everyone received it.
Yes, everybody did. And I have the email, and I can share it if
Okay,
you.
we're not going to share it right now. This again is, the whole point of this is to review what is and isn't allowed as a board member. And
You
board decisions are supposed to be made
targeted
collectively.
my
It could
action
have been
in
brought
here,
to
and
the
then you
board.
won't let me
Michaela,
speak to it.
stop. Quit interrupting me. It could have been brought to the board as a concern, and the document could have been reviewed as a board, and then a vote
I did bring the
taken.
concern.
to-
I brought the
okay,
concern to
Michaela,
you.
you're out of
and
order
Jennifer
again.
Gordon.
The document that you wanted to submit was not brought and
I
presented
didn't
to the
submit it
board.
on behalf of you,
before
Chair
submitting
Beam.
it.
I submitted it on behalf of
Michaela,
myself.
You are
On
out of
behalf of
order.
myself.
You submitted it representing the board.
On behalf of myself as a director, in my personal capacity as a director, which I have the right to do. And
Okay,
I hope it's
I'm
investigated.
not going to debate this with you.
And I
Best
hope
board
it's
practices
investigated.
would be to, in the future, present that the document you want to submit, whatever it might be, and allow the board to collectively decide, yes, we're going to move forward with this, or no, you are not operating
I'm
autonomously.
sorry, I have an individual responsibility.
And do it as
a
an individual,
director.
not as the board member, because you
And
are
I
the only
submitted it as an
person
individual.
that was concerned.
It was submitted as an individual, not as the
No,
board.
representing the board. That's the
No.
difference.
No, it wasn't. It was
Okay, we're going to move
representing me
on
as a
to
director.
executive session. So we're going to go into executive session under ORS 192.6602F to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law, including written advice from our attorney. ORS 192.6602B to consider the dismissal or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. So at this time, anybody that is not a member of the board will be asked to leave the waiting room if you're in person and or online.
Point of
And we are going to go
information.
into executive session.
Point of information. It was not disclosed to
We
me.
are going into executive
Before
session
the
now. You are
last
out of
executive-
order again.
Michaela, you're muted.
I was muted by the chair. So
You're
Point
out
of
of, not been
information.
recognized, Michaela. We're
Point of
moving into executive
information.
session.
This is a point of privilege, and I'm allowed to ask a point of information. I was not told last time we went into executive session what it would be about, and I was not given the opportunity to disclose my potential conflict of interest.
Did you
If it was
receive the board
regarding the
packet?
CEO, I wasn't told that until after we got into executive session. So for the purposes of transparency, I need to know if I need to make that disclosure before we go into executive
Have
session.
you reviewed your board packet?
I have.
Okay, do you see anything listed in there that you think would cause you to need to be recused?
You know, there have been several documents
Is there
put
anything
into
listed in
no,
your
there's
board packet?
several documents put into executive session previously that were not provided in the board packet. So I want to make sure that the topic that do I need to issue my disclosure about a potential conflict of interest right now before we go into executive session?
I can't
I'm
answer
asking
that
you
for you because I don't know what your potential conflict would be, but if
Yes,
you
you do.
reviewed
It's
the
the
board.
only one I've ever made.
Nikita,
which
would
is
you
that
please stop?
It's the only.
We need to get
It's
through
the
this
only
meeting. If
announcement
you're
that
going
I've
to
ever
continue to
made.
be disruptive, we can ask
I'm
you.
not being disruptive. I'm asking a very clear question.
Is
I
there
need to
something
make
in
the
the board
public
packet that
disclosure?
you believe would require you to need to recuse yourself?
If the topic of discussion again.
All I know is what's in our
the
board
prior
packet
CEO
and what's on the
that
agenda.
I have announced my potential, not actual, potential conflict of interest. If it's regarding that, I am announcing the potential conflict of interest since I cannot get clarity from the board about what we're going to be talking about. Okay,
I'm not going to read the board
that's
packet.
I've made my announcement. Thank you.
Okay, can we enter executive session now? Are you okay with that?
I'm not okay with lack of clarity in your answer, but you're the
Michaela,
chair.
would you like me to read the board packet to you, or do you want to make a decision based on your own ability to discern what is in there?
I'm sorry, Chair Beam, but you haven't included all of the things in executive session in the past. So how would I know if you have something else to present in executive session this time?
I'm going to take that as a no, and we're going to move on.
All right.
Thank you, sir. And she was. What was it? Just making sure. Yeah, well, so there's is that Leanna? Okay, we should be good. Okay, everybody's in, Gina.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion as that we, as we discussed, to, I wouldn't say pay, but make a. Yeah, what actions as we discussed. Take actions as we discussed to, for Adam. Second.
So we have a motion and a second to take the actions discussed in executive session.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so as it was a closed session, there's no further discussion. We're going to move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Greg, I heard you. Michaela, did you say aye also?
I did not. I'm abstaining.
Okay. So one abstained. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to make a motion to accept as it stands?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the February minutes and the maintenance reports as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Perfect. All in favor of accepting the February meeting minutes and maintenance report, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Greg and Greg and Michaela, you guys were both aye, correct?
All right.
Yep.
Any opposed? All right, Jennifer, is Jennifer on?
No,
Okay, so we do not have an ODOT update?
we do.
Oh,
She sent us a little blurb via email.
okay.
And so Sherry's gonna present that to the board.
I was just gonna read her, what she presented to us.
Okay.
You have the whole, you have something with the key points, sure, okay. So ODOT, PTD has, had a restructuring, and they are now under the Policy and Data Analyst Unit.
PTD?
Yes,
No, sorry, what does PTD mean?
Public Transit.
Just, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
so they are now under the Policy and Data Analyst Unit. Funding cycles have begun for the 2027-29 biennial, and public input and notice of fundings are required for the 5310 funding. Sherry is on it and has started her staff meetings. Sherry was willing to test our new application and just appreciate her willingness to help us make the applications better, appreciate provider feedback. And then there's also competitive solicitation with opportunities to get funding to improve your technology, software, and possible pilot programs for tech integration. Also capital, so that means bus replacements. And then below is information on funding and what it can go towards, as well as a couple of great training opportunities. And then she's provided some information, and I believe is all of that in there.
Yes.
You guys should all have a copy of that.
Are we applying for that competitive funding for
Yes, I
technology
will.
software?
I'll address it in my general manager report. I've got a bunch of information to update you on since the general manager report was put in your
Perfect.
packet. So that's all Jennifer had. We apologize, we could not make it tonight.
Okay, and we have some annual stuff that we need to do as a board, right, for training?
I think Amira notified you guys of a training that's coming up. I think the closest to us is Newport. Yeah, and it's through SEAO,
Uh-huh.
and it's just board ethics, board governance, that's what it is. Board governance is one day, and then the second day is an HR thing. So if you are interested, you can go to the one day. There is a fee for one day versus two. So if you want to do that, please get with Amira and let her know. And then let her know if you want to spend the night out there.
Is this the same training that was offered last year in Eugene?
I don't know. I can reach out to SDAO and find out and get you some
Not
information.
that Newport's not amazing, but I really don't want to go here the same exact things again.
It could possibly be, I don't know. I'll have to get information from SDAO.
Okay.
So
Do we
can-
have anybody that has never done that? If it is the same training, is there anybody on the board currently that's never gone to it?
Yeah, I've been to it.
Phil says he hasn't.
Did you go to the one in Eugene? Phil?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't been to it.
I did go to the training in Eugene.
That was.
Okay,
Good.
so
Yeah.
if you went to the one in Eugene, it's very possibly, it might be the same thing, so
Okay.
I'm gonna find
Yeah.
out. So if you went to the one in Eugene and it is the same, then no, you would not
Okay.
go to this
Yes.
one.
It's 2 days worth of trainings. It's multiple trainings. That's what Amira sent over.
Well, the second day is all HR classes. So the first day is all board, and then the second day is HR stuff.
Okay, I
Greg,
think
you-
it's multiple classes is what it looked like.
Are you saying that only the one day is beneficial to the board, Sherry?
Yes.
Greg, did you say you haven't been to the training?
No, I don't believe.
Okay,
No, the only training I did was that time we did all of it.
okay, but I know just from the email you sent, you've got scheduling conflicts potentially, right?
Yeah, we've had quite the shakeup at the PD, so I'm not going to know anything for probably a month.
Okay, all right. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions on the ODOT update? Okay.
No.
no.
All right, I gotta get all the way back up to the agenda. Share your reports.
Yeah, so did everybody get a chance to take a look at the financial reports?
Yeah.
So our balance sheet provides the most accurate snapshot of UPTD's financial position. Total current assets were $358,795, and total current liabilities are $33,521.69. which resulted in, a positive, equity of 325,179.26. That was at the end of February. The current fiscal year, it doesn't include the year to date, what we started out the year with, so it's not a very accurate reflection. The balance sheet really is the most accurate. And then, we have gotten all of our federal funding for Q1 and Q2, and then we had all of our state funding for Q1, 2, and 3. So, Q4 starts next month. So we will be getting our Q4 SIF funding probably the second week in April. And then I will be putting in for our reimbursements for third quarter for on the federal side, which I anticipate being about $264,819 in reimbursements that we'll get. So I did have in the general manager report, I also just had like the current projections for Q3. And it looks like we're probably gonna end with about 123,000 at the end of this month going into April, which is a much better position than where we've been, and that's paying all of our bills. So in December, I had to hold a lot of expense payment, paying a lot of the expenses so that I could make the payroll in January, waiting on our SIP funding, but this quarter, we are doing much better. So I should be able to pay everything and still have about 123 going into April. And our payrolls are running us about 53,000 right now of payroll. So I will have enough for 2 payrolls. So I will not be begging ODOT so much for funding. And then I also have projections for Q4. And I think that we're gonna end the year pretty strong. We should be able to start building a little bit of a reserve finally, so that when we do get our award for the bus, on the buses that we got the $2 million federal funding that will be coming probably the end of next year. We will need to show that we have the match funding for that, so I think we'll be in a pretty good position with those grants.
And do you kind of have a timeline or a dollar amount in reserve or financial position in mind for when we start to look at what, if any, services it makes sense to bring back online?
So Amira and Andre and I, we attend the OTA meetings, and then I think it's called Slack, but Julie Brown is on there. And has been speaking to the group. And she's not, she doesn't have very positive things to say yet about all the funding challenges. I know that ODOT said that we should be okay for the rest of this fiscal year, but the concern is that we may have some delays again with federal funding going into next fiscal year. So right now, we're not talking about bringing anything back until we kind of have those concerns put aside, and we know that we're getting things, but we did get projections for 27 to 29 on the federal side, and our federal funding for 27-29 on our 5311 funding is going to be about $430 for. They've decreased our allocation compared to what it is for this biennium. So that's about $200,000 a year. But on our 5310 side, we're getting about $165,000 more. So we're still gonna have a shortfall. And so it's just not looking real positive, Gina. I just wanna be honest with you guys. I don't want to give things back to the public that we have to turn around and take away again.
No, that's why I was asking kind of like, do you have in your mind, or have you kind of started to work on like at which point where your kind of trigger point is that you might feel comfortable with, hey, if we're in this financial position, if this has happened for the last 6 months, we might be then looking to bring stuff back on board? Or maybe that's something we just start thinking about. Is it? do
We are thinking about it, and then I do have the operations department is working on, kind of a modified, how we can bring some services back to South County without increasing our costs very much, but that would be modifying the Winston route again. But being able to maybe get down to South County maybe twice a day, morning and afternoon, and not going all the way down to Canyonville, possibly picking up at two places in Myrtle Creek, because that's where most of our ridership comes from, is Myrtle Creek. And we could maybe pick up at the Rays and maybe the park that's over there. But I don't know what that looks like just yet.
Do you know
So-
approximately what that would cost?
I don't.
Okay.
So what we're talking about, because Winston, what happens with the Winston route is Winston goes out
Right.
and then it turns around and doubles back on itself. So you're going out, but then 15, 20 minutes later, you're picking up in those same locations coming back. So what they're talking about doing is, instead of coming back on itself, is going through Dillard, getting on the freeway, getting off in Myrtle Creek, picking up in two locations, not going through the whole city, and then coming straight back. And then on the way back in the afternoon, going straight from like Roseburg straight out to Myrtle Creek, and then coming back to Winston. So it would decrease some services to the Winston people, but they could get on the bus 15 or 20 minutes earlier or later and still get that ride. But I don't know, we're looking at everything. So that's just one of the ideas that they've been shuffling around over there. And we think with some of the savings on the double backing, that would say, we could get out to Myrtle Creek, but then we would have some additional mileage. But we would just have to look and see what that's gonna be, and I don't have those figures just yet. Maybe next month we'll have something a little more.
Can we get figures both to Myrtle Creek and if we were to go up to Canyonville separately?
The problem with the Myrtle Creek is that we were only servicing probably about 4 riders a day, all the way out to Canyonville. And I know that those 4 riders,
There were kiddos that were using the service for school. Was that past Canyonville? Was that Canyonville? Do you know?
was mostly Myrtle Creek.
Well, that was Myrtle Creek. Okay.
So as soon as I have some better figures, we can maybe discuss it next month, at next month's meeting, but, like I said, I don't wanna give something to the community just to have to turn around and take it away. So we really need to kind of get through this next quarter and then see what's gonna happen with our federal funding next quarter, or
Sorry,
for next fiscal year.
One more question, sorry.
Sure.
Those 4 riders, were they staying within Myrtle Creek or were they coming into Roseburg?
That I don't know. I would have to ask and find out. Andre's on. I don't know if he has the answer to that.
'Cause I wonder if we could partner with Lyft or Uber or
And that's another thing that we're looking at. So,
if it's inside,
yes.
right?
We're looking at what it takes to have like
Like in Austin.
a demand response,
Mm.
but where we function more like an Uber or Lyft.
Yeah. Have you seen the
Grants
Austin
Pass
model?
does
You know what I'm
that.
talking about?
No, but I know Grants Pass does it.
Super cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. We'll look at that as
Because
well.
Austin's similar to Douglas County and that it's a vast space. And so running buses inside of town and then running Lyft or Uber, I can't remember, I think it's Uber, but I don't know that. Outside, so that they're getting to a bus stop and then the bus runs within town.
Yes. So those are all things that we can look at. We need to know where our federal funding is gonna be going into next fiscal year. And then,
Mhm.
with gas prices on the rise right now, that's gonna increase costs of gas and diesel right now, so.
Mhm.
I would be really surprised if we were able to really change much within the next year. I just think continuing to, honestly, it's probably going to be more like every 6 months that we really take a hard look at it. Because like you said, it's not just, there's a lot of political and everything else that's contributing to it. Not just hey, we're a little bit more stable fiscally. That's not, there's too much going on nationally to really make that call. So
Right. And then does anybody have any other questions on just like where we are, projections with the financial report?
Yep.
No.
Thank you.
So I do have a couple of grant applications. I know I discussed last month the rural veterans healthcare transportation. I have not gotten word on that yet. But that was submitted on January 30th. On February the 18th, you guys approved. Oh, Andre, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of chime in on the South County. About a third of the riders that actually ride the South County route actually come into Roseburg. There's a lot of people that take it between Riddle and Myrtle Creek that take care of their daily activities within the Myrtle Creek area. They're not coming into Roseburg. So 7 of every riders are not coming into Roseburg. They're pretty much staying in the local areas. So just thought I'd kind of put that out there to understand that even though we're looking at doing a connector from Millsite Park or from Rays, our biggest ridership down there, well, a lot of it was students going to school in the morning and people doing their daily business within the South County area. So I just thought I'd kind of give an update on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On February 18th, I submitted the application to add it was the STIF plan amendment, which you guys voted on at the last meeting. So that was submitted, and I think I've got a meeting with Jennifer tomorrow to discuss a little bit more of that application process. So I'll just keep up on that. On the 19th of February, ODOT put out the application process to do the funding gap, the 2027 funding gap, because they're gonna go on. ODOT is going to align themselves with the federal fiscal year, which is
Yes,
October. Yes, so I know Jennifer has discussed that. So that application was submitted for 5310 and 5311. So that's done. And then on March 3rd, I did put in an application with the Ford Family Foundation. Online, they have they only allow you to do their small, $20,000 grants, but then if you have an interest to do something bigger, you can contact them. So I did contact them, and I just wanted to provide an update because I know that we've had some conversations about applying for some of these grants with them. The Ford Family Foundation grant opportunities, the foundation, she informed me that the applicants must be able to demonstrate that at least 50% of the project funding comes from diverse sources, including local cash support that's not derived from governmental funding. So with that being said.
can't that be
all of our
fair,
restricted-
Carrie?
What's that?
You could count your fares towards that though.
We can,
Right.
but if that's part of the unrestricted funds that we have to get through, we've got to make a few other payments on first. So, with that said, I could not right now, demonstrate that we had $10,000 in non-governmental funding that I could put towards a project. I was going to do an application to maybe do some bus shelter replacements. We have quite a few of them that are getting pretty old and dilapidated. So that's not gonna happen through the Ford Family Foundation, but it is an option that we can look at as we can start rebuilding some of our unrestricted funds in the next coming months. I am in the process right now of preparing 4 grant applications for capital projects. One of them will be the purchase of 2 vans. One of the vans will be used to provide demand response services, including Dial-A-Ride and ADA paratransit. That's to replace the vehicle that was totaled in an accident in December. And then the other van will be, the second van supports our commuter route. Right now, we have one of our larger vans that's actually doing the Sutherland route, and it's creating a decent cost savings, not having to run the bigger buses on it. So we wanna be able to replace that one, and that one's, outside of its useful life as well, so. So we have that one, and then I have a second one that is for the purchase. A replacement of a maintenance vehicle, so right now we have an old Ray van, that's well outside of its useful life. That the team uses to go out and clean up bus shelters and that kind of stuff, and. We would like to replace that with an actual truck, utility truck, so that we can maybe get a pressure washer and a water tank. On it, so that they can pressure wash the bus stops and clean them a little better. So that's the second one. And then the third one is for the technology. I know we've talked about this for quite a while. So it's to procure software for transit management, which is like for our riders, for them to have an app where they can see where the bus is and they can maybe pay with their app, that kind of thing. And also right now, we don't have any kind of software. We have Route Match for our demand response side of the house. And it's a very old system that they no longer really kind of service. They do because we still have it, but they've been trying to move us to their more updated platform, which we just have not had the money to do. But we don't have any software on the fixed route side of the house. So our riders, they have to come here and buy tickets. They have to pay cash or use a credit card. There's no way for them to see where the buses are in real time. There's no way for them to pay with an app or anything like that, which I know some people are not gonna want to go cashless, but there will be a lot of people that will. And I think that just getting some software for the fixed route side of the house would be nice, because the riders could see where the bus is. Right now, they have to call this office and ask if they missed the bus or if the bus is running late. So they could just look it up on their app and they could see where the bus is. So that's, and then the other software was the accounting software for our financials. That has been something that's been mentioned by RLS in the last 2 site reviews. Right now, we have been using QuickBooks since the beginning of the district. And it serves its purpose, but it doesn't allow for any real grant tracking. So I am able to code things with a grant number so that we know where the expenses are, but as far as like actual tracking of the grant, there's no tracking built into it. So I have to track things separately outside of the accounting software. So that's just something that RLS, I think they gave us a 3-year period on the 24.
Sherry, are they requiring that you use a software, or will they accept Excel to track the grants in?
They knew that we were already using Excel to track through the grant tracking, and they would like for us to get away from doing that. They really don't like us doing much of anything by hand, I guess. They want to see it all done in the accounting.
So that's a preference, not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, it's something that it was part of our findings, so.
So I know I've looked into a lot of the software, and a lot of it is expensive and it also doesn't work well. So because I've run into the same thing, and you and I have talked about it. And unless there's something new out there I don't know about, the vast majority of it still requires you to hand enter everything, and you would still be needing to use QuickBooks for your day-to-day accounting and a separate program for your grants.
Okay, I know,
Redundant.
so we had gone through the process of demos and all of that a year and a half ago, probably now, maybe even 2 years ago. And we kind of narrowed it down to 3 different platforms. Sage Intacct was the one that I was most interested in, and I know that Melissa down in Coos County Transit, she uses it and she loves it.
Okay.
So,
Do you remember what the other 2 were?
MIP, and the other one was, trying to think of the name of that.
NetSuite?
Cassell.
Oh,
I think it was Cassell. I think
I
they
don't know,
had,
Casell.
they are expensive.
Yeah.
They are all expensive. But, so the grant opportunities that are coming, they are going to have some, so the first phase is all, replacement for vehicles. They're not allowing us to like expand or buy vehicles that we don't currently have. We have to replace, ones that we have. But that's federal funding, that's gonna require 20% match,
Right.
and then phase 2 is some state discretionary funds,
Oh.
which those don't generally require any match. They usually, funded 100%, so, we have quite a few opportunities, so Jennifer was like, put in everything that you want, because you might get all of it, you might only get one thing or two things, but, it doesn't hurt to put in for it. And then the fourth one that I'm gonna do is just to replace 10 of the bus shelters. We've been talking about replacing bus shelters for the 5 years I've been here. And it just has never happened. We just haven't had the funds.
And that's not adding bus shelters, it's just.
No, that's
replacing
replacing bus
existing.
shelters. Everything right now is having to replace, except for the technology we could, that would be the only exception that they would allow us. So those are the 4 grants that I'm going to put in for. I have them probably 3/4 of the way done. I'm just waiting for final pricing. Andre's been working with the bus dealers to get some good pricing, and then he's also been having demos with some of the software companies. Some of them do fixed route and demand response, so if we could find one platform that does them both, that would probably be ideal. Some don't, so he's looking at all the options. There's more out there that do them on a separate, they either do one or the other. There's only a couple out there that actually have both platforms on there. So I think he was on a couple calls, he was on one today, I believe, and he's been having them, so I'm just waiting for mostly estimates, good estimates, so that I have a good firm number to ask for.
On the software, you say it's kind of spending, can you give a rough number, just, and I sort of have an idea.
Sage Intact, which is the one that I would prefer to have, only because I have other colleagues that use it and I could, go to them if I had questions. I know that they have their own people that will help, but it's nice to have someone that is doing what we're doing
Right.
to ask those questions. And that one is gonna run for the implementation and then like a 3-year service contract. It's about $135,000.
Wow.
Of which 30,000 or so is implementation.
Yeah,
Right?
27, I
Yeah.
think, is implementation, and it's like 30.
Ish a month,
30,000.
30-ish a year.
Yeah, a year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For the service.
So, is it possible to get clarification on whether or not it's just a like best practices recommendation or something that they're insisting we do? Because I mean, fiscally speaking, that doesn't make sense.
I can talk with Jennifer and ask for her input on it, and get something to you guys. But I know that it was a finding and they gave us, I think, a 3-year period to get it resolved, but.
Did they ever suggest using sub accounts through QuickBooks to track the grants that way?
I already use job coding for that. I code everything with a grant number.
I will advocate for Sherry that I heard all the time from my accounting team how terrible QuickBooks is.
Oh, I
So-
hate it.
Yes.
I will just say.
It's a good platform for, a
It's
very small.
Fantastic for an
Yes.
independent
For an independent
contractor, for
contractor.
a small shop. It is not great for an organization.
No. Although I know who is it, very well, but, I have done all of the job coding and everything so that I can run a report and just say, these are the expenses that were coded to that job.
Mhm.
Or to that grant, but then I have to, take those expenses and then I have to put them in my spreadsheet to draw the grant down, so I know where I'm at with the grant. And that was something that RLS did not want to see.
Yeah,
I can get clarification on whether that's something that we absolutely have to do, but
yeah.
As far as the rest of the updates, Sherry, do you want to go through them one by one, or do you want to have, if there's any questions from the board, have them ask them?
I can just touch on a few of them. I mean, we've already gone through the grants, and then the charging stations did not sell again. I just relisted them for $135,000 for the second time.
Okay.
So hopefully by the next board meeting, I will have an update on that, and then if they don't sell, we can discuss next steps at the next board meeting, so there's no action required for that. And then the RLS update, so all of them are closed except for, there's two that remain open that are just open until a certain date. We've been providing the documentation for them. 2318 closes March 25th of this month. It's the trip denial tracking, so it's just having to provide that documentation, and we'll provide that even moving forward as an ongoing thing. And then 2314 is open until 5/25. And that's ongoing as well. Even after that date, we'll still be providing that documentation to ODOT if we go get into a contract with someone.
Because that's part of our procurement policy.
That's just part of the procurement process. 2312, I did ask for some clarification, and what I was told was to close the finding, UPTD must complete a review and analysis of the CEO and COO employment activities from April 2025 until September 2025, and provide a detailed report with all relevant evidence to ODOT, which neither one of the individuals are here. So I don't believe that that's really something that we can do. And then on 2310, ODOT said that the investigation documents were incomplete, with many parts completely unexplained, and without additional information that they would not close that finding. So those two findings will just remain open until our next site review. It's not going to hurt us in a way that will make us a high risk, agency or anything like that. But they will not close them. So they will remain open.
I have a comment on that if I can be recognized.
The chair recognizes Michaela.
Thank you. So I'm going to read something really quickly. It's not very long, but I'd like it to be entered into the record. So I would like the record to reflect my disagreement with the characterization of observation 2310 and 2312 in the compliance report. With respect to the observation 2310, the report states that UPTD refused to provide records to ODOT. That characterization omits critical context. The materials referenced were part of a confidential personnel investigation conducted somewhat in executive session and also individually one-on-one with employees. Legal counsel had advised that those interview notes constituted protected personnel records and were not documents pertinent to a federal award under 2 CFR 200.337 as referenced in the RLS report. A written summary report was provided, and the decision regarding the underlying notes was made in accordance with legal advice and state laws protecting governing of personnel investigations. Observation 2312 similarly contained conclusions that are not supported by verified financial findings, and in several cases extended beyond the scope of a compliance review. Many of the matters referenced involve personnel decisions or activities not charged to federal awards. Federal procurement and cost allowability rules apply only to expenditures funded by federal grants, not to actions taken with local funds or personnel management decisions of the district. Characterizing such matters as potential fraud without completing investigations is inappropriate for a compliance observation and creates a misleading impression of wrongdoing. I also want to address the claim that the Washington, D.C. trip was for lobbying. That description is inaccurate. The trip was approved by the board for the purpose of educating federal legislators and staff about potential impact on rural transit systems if federal transit funding were disrupted. At the time, there was a legitimate concern that federal transit funding could be frozen or restricted due to policy conflicts between the federal administration and the state of Oregon. And I will say that did happen. So that was a good plan, including the conflicts with the administration and the state of Oregon included issues related to DEI compliance and Oregon sanctuary state policies. The purpose of the trip was to ensure that federal officials understood the real-world consequences such actions could have on rural transit riders in Douglas County. Providing factual information to policymakers about the operational impacts of federal policy is not lobbying, and it is routine and appropriate activity for public agencies. In addition to that, the prior board had passed a resolution, a resolution specifically outlining that we were removing all policies related to DEI in order to be in compliance with the federal administration to try to prevent that freeze in funding. For those reasons, I believe I'm almost done. For those reasons, I believe these observations rely on incomplete context, factual inaccuracies, and legal misunderstandings, and I want my objection to those characterizations reflected in the public record. Again, I was not interviewed by RLS before they came to the conclusions that they did. Thank you.
Michaela, do you have any of those notes from the executive sessions or the conversations between the attorney that we could provide to show that backup documentation?
Executive session, and Sherry will remind you of this, because when I asked for the executive session, just the summary of what happened in the meetings that I've missed, I was told I'm not able to access them because I wasn't part of the meeting. So no, people who don't attend executive session meetings are not privy to that information. It can be ordered by a judge.
So barring the executive session stuff, do you have any notes or anything that corroborates all that we could submit that would help back that up and allow us
there is tons of information out there. There's a declaration made by the prior board that's public information that RLS could have reviewed.
But you don't have anything new from what they've already reviewed, correct?
No, I don't think that they reviewed any pertinent information.
There's an
accusation in there that it was unprecedented for there to be a severance package for a CEO in our district, which is factually inaccurate, because the prior CEO had a severance package. There was no investigation, actual true investigation done before this very damaging RLS report was released.
There was an investigation because they did come and conduct one, and you may not agree that it was thorough enough or that it was done.
It wasn't thorough, and it's defamatory.
I'll wait till you're done. But we need to wrap it up and keep moving. So
that's fine. It's defamatory and very damaging to our district.
Okay, so if you have anything that you think that they potentially haven't seen,
yes, I've reached out to them on multiple occasions, and they will not respond to me.
So if you just a second to finish a sentence, I can tell you what I was going to say. If you have anything that you think would be helpful that you may have reached out and tried to supply to them, or whether, I have no idea what correspondence has been between you and them, but if you could give that information to Sherry and or the board and make sure that we have it, that way, if they are not responding to you, maybe we can go another avenue and make sure that information is given to them. It sounds like it could be important information, and it would be good if we tried another avenue to get that to them.
It would be good if we contested the overreach that RLS is trying to impose on our district. We have autonomy. We are not little ODOT, and ODOT is trying to access our personnel records. And I believe it's being done for personal reasons because David Campbell has a vendetta against our district.
There are a lot of assumptions, though, and I don't want to.
There's a lot of documentation that shows the history of this.
I understand a lot of that could be seen, though, as assumptions and opinions, personal opinions. So if you think that there are things that you might have that would be good for us to get to them and in front of them, I would be more than happy. Sherry would be more than happy. Let's try to do that. Get them out there, send them to them, make sure that they have those things in front of them, whether they should have had them before or if they somehow got missed, or maybe they have reviewed them and they didn't draw the same conclusion. But it would be helpful to have that to send to them. Can we move on to the next thing?
Gina, Natasha.
I have one thing I'd like to note for the record. For the record, all board members were invited to the RLS audit and had opportunity to talk to the RLS auditors while they were here. I and Gina were the only two who happened to come, but the dates and times were given to all board members. So everyone had equal opportunity to have those conversations.
That's true, Natasha, but just because people couldn't attend in person doesn't mean RLS couldn't communicate in other ways, like via email.
I think that was in response to the statement that people weren't allowed to. But
Yes.
I agree that yes, people should have been allowed to submit information or testimony outside of being there in person. I think I was only able to be there for a couple hours because of other commitments. So moving on to covering the audit summary, it looks like we were done. Did you have some?
Yeah, I'm done with the audit summary, and then on the 90-day deliverables, I believe I've met all of the requests for the 90-day deliverables. Some of them will be ongoing, like the meetings with the local municipalities and the mayor, mayors and different people in our community. So I will continue to reach out to them and provide them with information. We have provided Sutherland and Middle Creek with some information that they requested. So we'll just keep working on those partnerships. If I have not met any of the 90-day deliverables, please let me know. And that is.
Sorry, I'm trying to switch between the document and the agenda. Neither of those needed a vote. Compliance update we covered then also.
We need to accept the financial.
Yeah, I think you just need to vote to accept the financial report.
I'll make a motion to accept the financials and the general manager report.
There's a second.
Second.
We've pretty well discussed them. Is there any further discussion or can we move to vote? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the general manager's report and the financial report?
Aye.
Greg and Michaela, you guys were both aye, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
I was.
sorry, it just blends together. I assume when I see it unmute that I'm getting the right people, but any opposed? Okay. So moving on to, I gotta go back up to the agenda. Compliance update. Sherry, you already touched on that, correct?
Yep.
Old business. Oh, there it is, the budget committee on here. Okay. So moving on to new business, 11.1, the budget committee. And you said we had some changes to that. I think Amira was updating me that we had one of the people that had applied originally has dropped off.
Yeah, that would be Doris Newton. She was the new person that applied for the STIP stack committee. She did tenure her resignation already, so
Okay.
the board just needs to acknowledge, I think, the resignation.
How many members does that leave us?
We still have quite a few. I think we still have 8. I think it's 8. I think she would have been number 9. So we still have 8. We have to have 5.
Okay.
So we're still okay there. But she did apply to be on the budget committee, which would have made that 4, because right now we have 3 outside members. So because we have 3, we will have to have 3 board members. We have to have equal number of board members.
And we needed to vote on that this meeting, correct? In order to.
Yes, we tabled it last month.
Okay.
I'll be one of them.
Bill, is that you?
I'll be one.
Okay.
It's on my calendar.
Bill and Natasha, Bill?
Thank you, Amira. I'm staring at like little blank boxes at the top. I have no idea who's talking.
It's okay, I got you, girl.
Thank you. Okay, so is there anybody else that's interested in being a part of that? So does somebody that's not one of the three want to make a motion? We don't need to do anything with do we need to make a motion to accept the withdrawal or resignation of Doris?
It would just be good to go on the record to acknowledge her resignation and,
So
to accept.
who wants to make a motion to accept Doris Newton's resignation and appoint Natasha, Bill.
Yes, Bill, Natasha, and Phil.
Second that.
No, Greg.
He has to make a motion. I'll make the
You're gonna
motion.
have to do it
Which-
first.
Yeah.
I'll make the
Michaela, you
motion.
make the motion?
Michaela, do you want to state the motion?
Who is it? Bill, Phil, and
Natasha.
Natasha.
okay, and who's the member that's leaving?
Doris.
Okay, so I move to acknowledge the resignation of Doris from the budget committee,
Stiff stack.
from Stiff Stack, and appoint Bill, Phil, and Natasha to the budget committee.
So Doris was coming off of the budget committee, right, Amir?
Well, since she resigned from the Stiff Stack committee, she was also withdrawing from wanting to be on you never appointed her to the budget committee though.
So we need to
But she
appoint
was
her to the
appointed
budget
to
committee
Stiff Stack.
too.
No,
So
No.
she withdrew.
No, so Michaela's motion was correct.
Okay, perfect. And then Greg, you said you would second?
Yeah, I'd second that. We did two motions or we just did the one that I thought when you
One.
said you did it. So just the Michaela's the one that included everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to accept Doris Newton's resignation from Stiff Stack and appoint Bill, Phil, and Natasha to the budget committee.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then it looks like we also need to vote on the removal of Tina Temple.
Yes.
Yeah, Tina Temple has been on the Stiff Stack committee for probably the last year and a half. However, the email that we have for her is no longer good and she has not attended any of the meetings and we have no way to get in touch with her. So our bylaws do say that if, they've missed consecutive absences, that we can go ahead and remove her. But that will still leave us enough on our Stiff Stack committee.
So it looks like it's a resignation of Tina Temple, and then the staff would recommending that Jim DeLapp be appointed.
Yeah, so Jim DeLapp, he's here tonight. He is also put in an application to fill one of those vacant positions. So, and Jim has historically participated on our board and he's been an active member attending our board meetings for several years. So he's pretty up to date with PPP stuff, all things.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we remove Tina Temple from the Stiff Stack committee and appoint Jim DeLapp to fill the vacancy on said committee.
I'll second it.
I think Michaela did.
Does anybody have any discussion?
I'd like to welcome Jim DeLapp back.
Yeah,
He's a very valuable member.
reading the application, it looks like Jim, you've been involved for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. I'm just going off the board packet, so if there's something on the agenda that I missed, let me know. But I'm on agenda item 11.3, the accident incident response policy procedures. It looks like it's a simple update to our policy. Has
Well,
everyone had a chance to review it?
we historically have not had an accident and incident response policy and procedure. And with, having several accidents over the years, we just thought it was probably a good time to develop one. So that the employees have a common practice and a step-by-step on what we expect them to do and what we will do. And so we created the policy. It's not something that's required by any audit or RLS. It's just something that we thought would be helpful.
Has everybody had a chance to go through it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve and adopt the accident and incident response procedure.
And I will second.
Right. Does anybody have any discussion on the policy? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 11.4, sorry, motion passes. I'm moving too fast. The copy kind of finally kicked in. 11.4, the Title VI policy.
So the Title VI policy is something that is a requirement. We do have to have it, RLS, it's something that they look at during their reviews. We had, revised it so that it was in compliance when we had the 47 findings. So this was just going through and changing some of the, it's not changing the policy, it's just changing titles. And assigning, different people to some of those positions. We have to have like a Title VI compliance officer, so somebody that actually receives a Title VI complaint. And then that person is responsible for, doing the investigation to see if it really was a Title VI. And then we have a certain amount of time that we have to respond to that person and the information that we give to them. So the policy is the same. It's just, really to change the titles of the people.
Yeah.
That are on the site.
To clarify, the compliance officer and the limited English proficiency coordinator are not the same person.
No,
Got it.
they are not.
Thank you.
So our LEP coordinator is Cindy, who's in this downtown office, who's our public facing employee. And then our Title VI compliance officer is Andre, since he's the operations manager. So she gets the complaint, she forwards it on to him. He can pull video, he can pull whatever he needs from the buses to research things and investigate. And then it ultimately will come to me and then I can do the final response. Most of the time, the complaints are not a actual Title VI complaint. But we have to investigate each one to make sure that they're not.
Do we have a motion on this one? And actually, if we want, we could probably hold off and do all three of those at the same time, if we want to go through them really quickly.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one was the vehicle replacement plan. It looks pretty straightforward. And
Right, we currently don't have a vehicle replacement plan, and since it's just a replacement plan, it really probably doesn't have to go through the board for approval, but just to be transparent, let you guys know what we're doing, we thought we'd include it, and if you want to include that as part of your vote, we will take it.
And then the last one was the passenger survey. Is that something that needs our approval?
No, that was just informational.
Yeah, we can do that separately, that's a different.
And if the second one, the vehicle replacement plan, does not need our approval either, then I'm fine with not doing that. What does everyone else think? So,
I guess if you just vote, it covers it, just in case there's ever a question. So
Okay.
I think it's considered a policy. Is it considered a policy, Sherry?
It's not a policy, it's a plan.
Then I don't think we need to approve it. We'll need
Okay.
this policy.
Especially as it's probably going to be pretty fluid, I would assume.
Yeah, we don't want them to have to come back to us for changes every time they make a change to it. It's in the operations realm.
Yeah. So it sounds like we only need to then approve, was it 11.4 or make a motion on 11?
The Title VI LEP policy has to be approved by the board.
Motion to approve and adopt the updated UPTD Title VI and limited English proficiency policy as presented.
I'll second it.
Who's that?
Bills.
Bill?
Bill.
Right, any discussion further? All those,
I just have a brief comment. It's not a huge discussion, but we may want to implement some sort of policy where, you know, from an operations standpoint, if there are name changes to titles, that they don't have to come to us to update those name changes and titles in all of these policies. Just a thought.
like administrative changes to any policy can be done without board approval.
If we're just changing the, you know, the name of the title, it seems like it shouldn't need to come to us every time. We've done this like 5 times in the last couple of years, so.
I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. Anything that does not change the nature of the document, simply a title or administrative update, like the date.
Yeah. But
Just,
that doesn't really have anything to do with this motion. That was just a comment.
well, it would have avoided it.
Right.
I'm perfectly fine with us doing that. We could do it now or at the next meeting. We need quick
You
discussion
could
on
do
it.
it as a separate, you could just approve this policy and then you could.
Yeah,
make
so
a
let's
motion
first
to-
approve, get a motion in place for this or go to vote now. I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Michaela, do you want to make a motion on that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we create a policy where the general manager can make administrative changes when they have to do with role name changes in our policies that don't impact the overall policy.
Second?
Second.
So the motion was to make a policy that we do not have to come to the board. Okay, wait, go do it again, Michaela.
I don't know if I can say it again. Can we just check the recording?
Yeah, let's just do that. So any discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, and that should save time in the future as well. So motion passes.
Absolutely.
11.5 and 11.6 were just informational.
Yeah, 11.6 was an item that you guys on my 90-day deliverable have talked about engaging with the community and possibly doing passenger surveys. So the survey that's attached is one that one of the other agencies sent to us. It's one that they just recently did not too long ago. So I just we are working on it, and I don't know when we'll get it out. We are supposed to have a leadership meeting to discuss it, but this is just kind of what we're working on right now. And
Okay,
we're hoping to get it out on the buses and down here in the downtown office and get it online and maybe get some feedback. So when we are able to possibly reinstate some services, we'll have some feedback from the community.
Love it.
thanks. So I'm a little concerned by the person with the weed burner and where they're going with it currently, but thank you for getting that done. And yeah, hopefully people will fill it out and be honest, and it'll give us some meaningful feedback. Everyone has had a chance to review the ridership and updates. Do we have anything that's not on agenda? Do we have any public comment for on agenda items only? Do we have any public there?
What?
Huh?
You guys are gonna have to tell me if there's public there that wants to
No,
comment.
No.
there's nothing.
It doesn't look like anybody's raising their hand online. Okay. Any public comment for not on agenda items, and we're gonna limit it to 2 minutes. If anybody does have any, hopefully get everybody out of here as soon as possible. All right, so we will work on the agenda build, and this meeting is adjourned at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.